Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, we're going to go up into the backwoods of Michigan. Now, our guest calls it the Thumbs of Michigan. I've never heard of it. And when you say the Thumbs of Michigan, it sounds like a place I better make sure I have some shotguns and a lot of cameras with me at all times. The subject we're going to talk about today, to me, you got to be an expert to even risk coming on to any platform and talk about not UFOs, but something even way before there were UFOs. Let's put the name out there the way it is. Sasquatch, Bigfoot, the abominable snowman, all these what I call urban or Midwestern myths. Or are they really myths? Today we got a young man who's not only the producer and creator of one of the fastest growing topics in America, soon to be released on all the major network as a series, the one, the only, Mr. Bryan Sawyer. Welcome to the show, Bryan.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Just get right down before we talk about the Bigfoot myths, the legends, and your role with it. Let's start back. You're from the Detroit, Michigan area. Tell the viewers a little bit about who you are before we get into all the questions and answers.
Yeah. Let's go down to the bottom level. I am an auto worker for Ford Motor Company.
What?
And then auto worker working, as a machinist, working on those. I'm actually working on the F-150 Lightning right now, making components for the engine.
So is it going to be a good engine off the record? Is it a good vehicle?
Yes. I got to say yes as a Ford employee, but what I can say is we're getting better and better with the technology. It's been a learning curve, but we are getting better and better.
That's good to know. That's good to know. So you started out there, and then give us a little more about you, because to go into this other area that we're getting ready to go into, were you always interested in myths, legends as it pertained to Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, here's how it got started. I'm also an actor in the Detroit, Michigan area. So whenever Hollywood comes to town, I usually get the phone call to be on set with the big stars in one capacity or another. I've met the likes of Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, John Hamm, David Harbour, Steven Soderbergh, Zack Snyder, so Eric Roberts. So a pretty good list. I've got a pretty good resume here in the Detroit area for acting. So from that, I'm connected now with the film community in Detroit. So what we do sometimes here are make pilot TV shows or concept movies to sell to Hollywood.
Okay.
So you kind of put together a small production crew, and you have a concept idea, and you either make a short or a sizzle reel to sell to the networks.
Which one is more effective, Bryan, out of the three that you mentioned? Which is more effective if you want to get your point across and get your foot in what I call the elevator opportunity?
The mainstay is the sizzle reel, but even shorts are good because you're going to get the storyline of a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that's going to kind of encapsulate the storyline, the emotions of it, the drama, whatever you're trying to portray.
Okay. Wow. You mentioned a lot of these great actors, Ben Affleck. Like what were some of the characters, or what were some of your roles that you played with some of these individuals as they visited the Detroit area?
Yeah, I'm usually like a supporting or featured actor. I'm the guy they bring in, or stand-in. I'm the guy they bring in to put around the major actors, because my agents have gotten to know me, my managers, they know, when I'm on set with Ben Affleck or whoever, I'm not going to be trying to get his phone number, trying to get a selfie with him, all of that kind of stuff. I'm not interrupting the production flow. So, and that's what they look for. so many people, and I get it. You get on set and you get excited. You see the Hollywood stars and all of that, but you got to keep that under wraps. You got to be professional. You know, I'm trying to make a living. It's a hobby, but also an extra paycheck for me. So, you know, I do want to be professional.
You know, I'm getting ready to ask this question. You
Yeah,
already
man.
know.
Yeah.
What was one of the most memorable roles or parts that you got to be in, whether it was stand in, whether they built around that, you know, you could share with us?
Yeah, Eric Roberts, Julia Roberts' brother. I got to stand in with him for 2 weeks. Okay, that's one of them. On the set of Batman versus Superman, I was there 2 weeks at multiple different locations, just hanging out with the inner crowd. I was there setting up for lighting, setting up for sound, standing in for some of the stars. So I was in the inner circle. I remember at one point, I'm standing there. I'm with Zack Snyder, Holly Hunter, Jesse Eschenberg, and there's one other person there. And we're talking about how to set up the scene and how to shoot it and all of that. And they treated me as their equal. And what was cool about that movie too is I had come into the set, so my name was getting known. So I pulled into the studio parking lot, and I'm like, "Hey, where's set B?" And they're like, "Yeah, you got to go in through here, take a left, take a right, take a left." So I get in there and it's all dark. We're in a big studio building, and I'm going, wait, left, right, wait, left, right. So I get into this big space, and my eyes start to kind of acclimate to the darkness of it all, and I realize, oh my gosh, I'm standing in the Batcave right now.
What?
Yeah. So I'm in there and I'm looking around. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. You know, I'm getting all excited. I'm like, well, I got to get set. So I see a light and I head towards that door and I get on set. And so we have a pre-production meeting, and Snyder comes in. He's like, hey, just to let everybody know, you know, um, press is really hounding us. They're trying to get an eye on the Batcave and see what it looks like to promote it, but we want to keep it under wraps. So if any of you, you know, happen to be in there, get caught in there, we're going to have to ask you to leave. So I just kept my mouth shut. You know, I wasn't looking for it. It just happened that way. So that's one of my favorite memories. And then my latest memory, I was on set as a supporting actor with John Hamm and David Harbour from Stranger Things on a movie called No Sudden Move. My scenes did get cut down, but you can see me, you can hear my voice in that film, and I get that nice paycheck every quarterly for Screen Actors Guild.
How did how did all this evolve with you? Did you just happen to go to what you might call a casting call, or how did you
It
get
was
your
a
foot in the door?
Yeah, it was a series of events, man. I got asked. I was in the choir at church, right?
Yeah.
And they came up to me and they said, hey, we're going to start a drama group at church. And we see that you're in the choir. You're not afraid to get up there and sing solos and do all that kind of stuff. Would you help us out with getting, you know, this started? I'm like, well, yeah, you know, I'm a singer songwriter. So, yeah, I'll help you out get started, but that's it. Well, I got into it, and that anointing happens and people are getting saved left and right in the church. And then I see the effect, the talent that I feel God has given me. So then I'm like, you know what? I need to get professionally trained. So this was kind of years ago. I'd taken a little layover because I was raising my kids. But so I went down to get professionally trained from Second City, Detroit. And I'll tell you something, Andre, my first audition there, I come off the stage and somebody runs across the theater and grabs my arm and says, hey, man, you are so talented. You stay here. We're going to teach you how to do this. I'm so happy to meet you. And you just promised me that you're never going to quit the biz. So I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. You know who that was?
Oh,
Keegan Michael Key. Key and Peele. Oh yeah, big time Keegan Michael Key, man. That's where he got his start, Second City, Detroit. That's where I met him, and then he later left, went to Chicago, and then he landed Mad TV and all of that. And you know, sky's the limit for him right now. So over the past 5 years, you know, I just kind of stopped for a little while and raised my kids.
yeah.
But over the past 5 years, I've been killing it. We're doing really good. I'm very happy.
You know, that is remarkable. And it's always like I tell individuals with that beast mindset, always try to walk through as many doors as
Mm-hmm.
possible because you never know who you're going to run into. And
Exactly.
just to meet this guy. So when you met him, and I know you took some time off to go and be a father and still do what you need to do for your kids.
Mm-hmm.
When you went to the acting aspect, what were you? what did you do that really stood out versus the other actors that was going to this to the school as well?
Here it is. You want the key to acting?
Yeah.
Number one, be disciplined. Okay. Number two, take direction. Know how to take direction. You'll get on some sets and the director will test you. He'll want you to do the same scene 10 different ways. Okay. And number three, keep your mouth shut. Don't talk too much. Don't, obstruct the production, the flow of things.
Mhm.
Keep out of the way. Do your part and get out. Be professional, but be a beast, man. Go after it. Go after it. See, two, you got to believe in yourself, because when somebody's watching you, they're looking in your eyes, they're looking at your face, and they want to see if you believe the character you're portraying. And once you sell that to them, them as the audience, they're going to believe it. And then you're golden, man. And that's what, and right now I'm doing the Bigfoot show and I'm doing a TV pilot sitcom for Hollywood as well. So I'm very busy right now.
Wow. You leaving me speechless. You doing more than I'm doing, man.
Yeah, I don't sleep much, don't sleep much, but it's so much fun. I am in my 50s now, and you got to sit down. This is just my opinion. You got to figure out that blueprint for your life and keep it simple. A, B, C, D, and E. And then you check those boxes off. Okay, this is the goal I want to set this year. I usually have 2, 5, and 10-year plans.
And a lot of people, so I mean, you think just alike. I tell people that all the time, but you know what I find even more interesting, Bryan, is people don't even know what their plan is for the full year, let alone
Mm-hmm.
5 years. And usually this is what I found out. And you can tell me if I'm right or wrong with the people you come in contact with. They're always looking for the gain to happen the next day.
Exactly. That is the wrong mindset. Now, here's what I suggest. Think of it as a marathon for your whole life. But inside that marathon, you're going to have periods of running, periods of rest, periods of jogging, periods of rest, even periods if you're walking or crawling, you're still getting somewhere.
Mm.
But then take that rest. And especially as parents, man, kids, we love our kids, man, but they're going to suck the life out of you. And so manage your time correctly. And then, like with acting, if you book a job, don't you, it's like my conversation right now. I can't back out of our interview. I'm affecting you and me if I back out and then I get a bad name. And sure, with Hollywood, I'm sure there's still blacklisting going on. So be professional, set goals, set your agenda. Love your kids though, but never, I don't want to be on my deathbed either, regretting, wishing I had more time with my kids. No. If something's got to suffer, then I guess I'm only sleeping 2 to 4 hours tonight. And then I'll catch up later down the road.
Bryan, you know what I tell people? I do the same thing. They go, you never sleep. I said, well, I look at it like this. When I'm deceased and gone, I'm sleeping all the time.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Why not stay up and
rest.
try to accomplish as much as possible in this life that we have?
Agreed.
With that said, let's shift a little bit. And congratulations on all the things that you've done, all past, present, and then working towards the future. But
Thank you, sir.
Something even more outstanding. Let's call it what it is. It's the Bigfoot. How did the Bigfoot get into your life?
Oh, sure. I was filming about a year and a half ago. I was filming a test pilot. It was a paranormal type show, more of a kid show, dealing with ghosts and UFO. Well, on that episode we were filming, I met a guy by the name of Aaron Young. And he was a Sasquatch eyewitness, had seen one face to face when he was in high school. And when he told his story, Andre, that was the first moment in my life I said, oh my goodness, these things are real. Because prior to that, I'm just like everybody else. Growing up in the 70s, you see the TV program In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy. And then you get a little bit older and we had the $6 Million Man with Andre the Giant as Bigfoot, and there was a UFO in all those episodes. And so up to this point, meeting this Aaron Young guy, It's just entertainment, man. Yeah, you're going once in a while on to YouTube to see, oh, what's the latest Bigfoot hoax. I mean, the running joke is hey, I seen Bigfoot, and then the running joke is, well, yeah, where's he at now?
Right.
Let me tell you something, Andre. The things I'm finding out that the government knows. And then I've been going nonstop, traveling around Michigan. I've been to Kentucky. I'm going back to Alabama, Kentucky, North Carolina. So now it's starting to go nationwide, meeting with eyewitnesses and getting their each individual's encounter, because some of them vary so much. And then there's so many different storylines as to what these creatures actually are. Are they just a gigantopithecus, another form of ape that has evolved along the way? Are they what some have said, the star people, the ancient alien line? Okay. Or if you want to go the biblical route, are these things the bloodline of the Nephilim? And that's what we're dealing with on the show. And I'm telling you, each encounter is different. Andre, I just spent the whole day yesterday out in the heat, sweating my butt off. We went to a location. Here's what I can say. We talked about what I can say and what I can't say. I have to verbally say it this way. I was at a Sasquatch family habitat along the shoreline of Lake Huron here in Michigan. So it has to be vague. So we're not because there are hunters who want to come out and they want to bag these creatures. And yes, you're even asking yourself, wait a minute, these things are real? Andre, these things are real, and the government has known about them for a long time. And the state lands, like here in Michigan, we have state lands set aside. Hey, I was called by a government official and said, hey, Bryan, we want you to be safe out there, but we also want you to know that these lands were not just set up to keep nature safe and have places for deer and all the typical animals, but also as buffer zones between humans and Sasquatch, because there are some bad Sasquatch out there. And if they get a little too hungry, they could start eating people. Yes, that is true.
It's funny how the universe works, because I was always curious about the whole phenomenon. Basically, in a nutshell, the same theory that you had, I had. Are these genetic mutations?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they to have the only thing that really puzzled me about the whole phenomenon is I realized that you have vast forestation. I mean, let's get real. You don't even see a silverback unless they want you to see them. But my question is, how does I always wonder, the government always got their hands in something. How do you control the population? Because we don't know if they're actually human, but we know they might have some type of human DNA to some degree.
Correct.
They wouldn't be able to stand up and create what we might call a civilization.
Exactly.
So it's almost like they're on a reservation, but it's almost like covered with what's the name of that Laquanda is hidden with this shield that we can't see it even though it's there. Does that make any sense?
Oh, the cloaking. Cloaking.
Yeah.
That's the truth of it. I actually have a picture of a Sasquatch cloaked, and I can send that to you.
What's the purpose? You've been doing this for a while, and your experience is way better than mine. You've encountered people that got these stories, and I always tell people, this is my viewpoint on history, no matter how you look at it. If the stories, there's some type of validation with the story. It came from and it started from somewhere. But what's your theory on why the secrecy and why not? I would be more encountered to understand I don't even call it a new species, because it's not a new species. They might have been here before we were here.
Totally agree. I think they were.
Yeah. So just to be able to interact and share knowledge, and more importantly, how did they survive for so long would be what the first thing I would ask.
Mhm.
Well,
They're very
what's your theory on all that?
well. First of all, they're very smart. Now, I do believe that there are different levels of intellect, physical capabilities. Some are even multi-dimensional in the sense that they can portal themselves from one location to another. Now, this is absolute crazy talk. I know it, but this is everything I've been learning over the last year and a half. I have connections with the FBI, government officials, even ex-special forces who have, chased one of these things down. So, I don't know exactly, but I would surmise that number one fear is they don't want people going into a panic. And maybe even the religion aspect
I was
that
going to
if
say that.
general
Yeah.
yeah, because as an ordered society, think about this. Whether you believe in religion or you don't believe in religion, we just have a common knowledge of having a family, going to work 9 to 5, coming home, keeping an organized flow of things, and that keeps civilization together. Okay, religion, whether you believe it in or not, hey, I'm a Christian, I do believe in it, but religion helps keep things organized as well. Productive society, family units, making that money, buying products, consumerism, all of this. Now, I believe the Sasquatch, first of all, they just didn't know what to do with them. And then the physical capabilities of these things, their power is immense, absolutely immense. Their strength factor, all of that, let alone their portal capabilities and all of that. So I don't even think the government knew what they were, but they were maybe concerned about the disruption of religion if these things were somehow a missing link, connected with evolution. But now, as time goes on, we're having a big reveal with UFOs. I believe they're kind of taking their hands off a little bit. The CIA, let me tell you right now, feeds Hollywood. Because right now, you think about the 1970s when they came out with Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that movie. Um, all along the way, we have been fed tidbits of information. Now, I think they're going to take their hands off more and more because everybody has technology, and the government's going to start looking like a liar if they don't take their hands off, if they don't try to control every aspect of it. So I think, yeah, maybe fear, religion, the disruption of organized civilization. I think that was maybe their concern. But now,
What's
human
your take?
population is growing.
What's your take on Billy Carson?
Billy Carson, I've watched him a few times. Very knowledgeable guy. Um,
I mean,
wow, this is
he literally makes you think outside the box. No matter if you
here's my problem with
go ahead, go
yeah,
ahead.
no matter if you agree with him or you don't agree. So now all I'm gonna say is based off of my Christianity. So I'm kind of bent in my own personal point of view. But Billy, man, what a smart guy. And he's done his homework. Here's my contestation with Billy. Billy says everything that he has studied is more ancient than, let's say, the Dead Sea Scrolls and the biblical text. My counter to that is the Dead Sea Scrolls and the biblical text was actually a response to the Anunnaki, of God explaining through the prophets, through Moses, that, hey, yes, there are these crazy beings and these crazy creatures, and they have spawned all sorts of monsters and all of that. We call them the fallen angels, the 200 on Mount Hermon, and they spawned all sorts of what's called Nephilim, the mythological beast of the ancient Roman Greek times. These things were real because the 200 angels came down, procreated with women, realized they could procreate, spawn giants, and then I think they were so shocked that they could do that, they started getting it on with every sort of living creature that God made and started perverting creation and making these monsters and all of that. So going back to Billy, I understand that, yes, everything he studied predates the Bible, but the Bible is an answer to what those things are. They're not aliens. They're not monsters or beings from other planets and all of that. They are just the fallen angel realm, the Satan realm that wants to war against God. And we're kind of the little brother and sister of this all. And they're, in a sense, not happy that they've been replaced. They rebelled against God. So God's like, hey, no problem. You know, I'm going to make man a little bit lower than the angels. I want a family. And those of you, I'm not going to try to control anybody. Those of you who have a free will, you go the road you're going to go. But sooner or later, judgment is coming. And that's my point of view on things. But I respect Billy. He's a smart man, and he has done his homework.
We've been hearing so much about the underground caverns in Alaska with and it's funny, I can't think of this guy's name. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, and he talked about his encounter and with not only extraterrestrials, but abominable snowmen or Bigfoot-like characters that were in a city pretty much underground. I get what you're saying. You can literally untether the fabrication of human evolution by bringing in something that's foreign, or that may have been here before us or have been here or whatever.
Right.
But my two-part question to you on this is, you did your research with interviewing different people from all over that have encounters with these individuals. I do personally believe the reason that we don't see them or the encounters are minimized is because they do have advanced technology and can teleport and be gone in a second to wherever they need to go to. I mean, it's pretty much common sense. You're here today and gone tomorrow. But how does this relate to your quest on what you're doing, and how does this relate to what you just said about your spiritual belief that these individuals are still here?
Right. On a personal level, like I'm talking with you right now, I'm going to be able to give my personal opinion. With all due respect, though, if I'm doing business, if we say get signed with Netflix or any of that, the premise of my first and foremost is to interview each eyewitness and get their point of view. Because to me, unless you collect the data, you're not going to be able to get to the truth. I still can't sit here and say, oh, I know for a fact they're from the bloodline of the Nephilim. I can't prove that. Just like people who say it's a Gigantopithecus, they can't prove that yet either. Okay. So when I go to each individual, and like you're talking about portals, one of my eyewitnesses, a guy by the name of Matthew Sexton, there's a family of Bigfoots not too far from me. And he discovered them. He spent a long time just camping out. Over a 10-year period, he started hearing vocalizations, what we call the samurai chatter, these things talking back and forth. Well, sooner or later, they got used to my buddy Matthew, and they started letting him see them. And he would see them. He saw them full point on. He's seen the whole family. But at one point, he accidentally stepped into one of their portals. What? He was following, he was following one of them, and he said there was this area in the woods where it became a little bit dark and a little bit kind of blurry. He said, but, you know, I'd been out there for 10, 15 years already. I knew where I was going. I was heading to the hill where the turkeys come down every morning. Right. He said, but then all of a sudden it was dark and blurry. And he said, and he came out of the dark and the blurriness into a swamp. And he's like, wait a minute, there's supposed to be a hill here. I know this land. And Andre, it is a small area where this happened at. So there's no mistaking for Matthew to do this. So he didn't know if they realized he came through and they projected one of their defense mechanisms called infrasound. He didn't know if they were projecting on him to get out of the portal or because he was inside the portal that physically made him sick. But he pretty much keeled over, dry heaving, drooling coming out of his mouth, a lot of pain. And fortunate enough, he could see his footprints in the dew, and he backed out of there. And as soon as he got out of there, bam, feeling good as, right as rain, back to normal.
Basically,
so yes.
hypothetically, when he went through the portal, his vibration sent out a signal to the Bigfoots that he was on a different
Yeah,
vibration,
could have been.
and then he had to
Exactly.
come back, and then he probably felt normal. But the portal hole might have stayed open for a while. But what did he say when he went through it? Was he able to comprehend anything that he saw other than him being in a swamp? Did he kind of remember probably where that swamp could have been, maybe hundreds of feet down the road
That's what he
or something like that?
No, he said he did not know where he was at. He did not know the location of the swamp. He said, there was supposed to be the hill there with the turkeys. I did not know where I was at, and that was one of the things that scared me as well. And I backed on out of there.
What was some of the other without giving up all of your stuff? What was another uh pivotal moment as an encounter that somebody shared with you?
Yeah, just communication with these things. So let me clarify. I have not had a full-on sighting yet myself.
Okay.
I have heard the grunts and the tree knocks around me
What's that?
3 different times.
What's the three now?
These are A tree knock is a communication device used by the Sasquatch. We used to think that they were actually picking up sticks and hitting tree knocks, and that these were a physical thing they were doing to locate other Sasquatch. Now we believe they come from maybe their throat, that particular sound, which does sound like if you were to pick up a bat and hit a tree, pop, whack. So that's a communication device they use. Um, a gal by the name of Angie Elizabeth. We'll get on to the next sighting and we'll make it quick. She has a Sasquatch family who lives pretty much in her backyard, and she mind speaks to them. And they've given her names. The male is Jabi. This is another location I can't talk about, and I have no problem with keeping people's locations private.
Okay.
But yeah, so now she has a full-on relationship with the Sasquatch family. So, and even one of those Sasquatch, well, it was kind of a friend of the family, had at one moment called her a stupid human, and she said, "Stupid human? I'm not a stupid human." And the thing kind of backed up and was like, "Oh, wait a minute, you can hear me? You're one of those who can hear me, who can hear the mind speak." So yeah, so there are neat capabilities like that as well, from physical to psychic to interdimensional.
Don't you think that we now have advanced our way of thinking now, especially with the Freedom of Speech Act, with everything at
Mm-hmm.
the touch of a hand, at the touch of your hand. Why do you think we still got such secrecy? I mean, like, I think people now have become to the point of realization that they know
Mm-hmm.
that we're not the only species in this universe. So what if we
Mm-hmm.
rewrite history? So what if we have to rewrite
Exactly.
biblical teachings? I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
had to do it anyway when they had to
Exactly.
pick different books on what they wanted and what they didn't. Why do you think even now, with the power of the internet and everybody seeing these things and high profile officials, government agencies, CIA, everybody's now coming forth saying, we've had enough. We want this information out. Why do you think that we still haven't come forth and say, this is what it is? They're here. Let's figure out how we need to coexist and let's rewrite history.
Yeah, I agree with you. Number one, I really believe it's still fear. From the information I have from one of my eyewitnesses, the Sasquatch had stated, "Hey, look, they don't want to be shot." And for instance, they are more apt to show themselves to females because men react in fear and want to grab their guns all the time and shoot these things. So if these are creatures with human DNA who like to have families as well as we do, they don't want their family members shot. They don't want their children shot. And then you throw on top of it. So that was one aspect that was relayed to an eyewitness of mine. Also, sickness. They don't want to get our diseases. Look what COVID did. I had COVID twice myself. I'm a relatively healthy guy, and it lasted with me for a while. The brain fog and all of that, and so these creatures more or less want to stay away from us as well. So on both sides of the camp, the main reason I would say, Andre, is fear of the unknown.
Before we wrap up, and thank you for taking time out to come and share the what I might call the unadulterated truth about Bigfoot.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes, sir.
what's you got so many passions that are going and so many things that you've accomplished.
Mhm.
What is the bigger scheme for the Bigfoot of Michigan project for you and as it relates to the world? What kind of message are you really wanting to broadcast to the world about your mission?
Really, kind of what you said, Andre. It's about getting to that next level of knowledge,
Mhm.
getting past the fear of the unknown, and waking up and saying, yes, these things do exist, and educate people about it. I know that sounds corny, it sounds bland, but that's the truth. Ignorance has caused racism and division just in humanity alone, between our own colors, between where we live, even in like the United States. The Southerners have an accent, so that would cause me to make fun of. We are too petty. We need to get to that next knowledge, level of knowledge and love, is what I would say. And then that brings peace when you're educated. When I know, Andre, what you're going through on a day-to-day basis.
Right. I'm gonna ask one more question before we wrap up. Is there a difference between, because I'm pretty sure this is going to be covered in your series. Is there a
Uh-huh.
difference between the Yeti, the abominable snowman, Bigfoot, and Sasquatch?
Yeah, there are slight differences. Think of this. I always say this to people. One time I got on Google and I looked up how many different types of insects there are. That particular search ended up being between 900,000 and a million different types of insects. So, yes, there is a difference, maybe slight differences. Maybe some may look more apish, but some look more human. In the thumb of Michigan, where I live, Sandusky, Michigan, we have multiple different sightings of white ones, gray ones, black ones, auburn colored ones, orangutan colored ones. The Sasquatch family that I'm closest to here on the Black River, they're all black, all ebony black with a little bit of brown in them, from all the eyewitness encounters I've gathered. But even in this small area of the thumb of Michigan, we've seen that many different colors and different facial features. I've heard from the facial features, mainly it's like a pale gray, but
Mhm.
some flesh colored. Some, the one like the orangutan, its face was even colored like its hair was. So yes, there are multiple different kinds of Sasquatch, let alone we get into the subject of Dogman or the special forces I talk to chasing down what's called a prey mantis man or reptilians. So
We
we've got
got
a
to
lot to
save that part for
talk about.
another show.
I'm game. I'm game whenever you are, sir.
Let me ask. Okay, so I know you can't answer all my questions, so we definitely have a part two and talk about these other
Yeah,
encounters because
I got to leave something for the
I
show.
believe they're out there. I know that if you was to unveil all that this universe has to offer,
Hmm.
create such a fear panic based society, that you're probably right. The first thing people would do is go grab guns, and the first thing is extermination versus trying to understand that
Bingo.
you're here. Um,
Bingo.
you mentioned different breeds of these individuals.
Hmm.
Have you ever heard of them actually? Like, if I want to see you, I can drive to, Michigan,
Uh-huh.
Florida. Have you ever heard any encounters where these individuals kind of coexist together to some extent? Because you got brown, green, black. Have anybody ever came to you and said, "Hey, or went through a portal and said they know how to cohabitat together?
Yeah, we do have that because when you talk about tree structures or markings, Bigfoot families will mark off their territory. So when other Bigfoots come into the area, they know that there's another Sasquatch family there. And it is a system of tree structures and tree breaks. Now, there can be an animalistic aspect to these civilizations as well, like a young single male adult is usually going to be more aggressive. I don't know if they try to, like in lion prides, oust the alpha male and take over the family. I don't know if it's to that level, but I do know that they do coexist. Well, I've also heard of two alpha males going at it together, fighting each other. But more than likely, everything I hear when the younger ones get of a certain age, they go out and they get their own territory. The one I witnessed, I have Angie Elizabeth. She has a family in their backyard, and the daughter actually lives on a plot of land across the street.
Wow, that's crazy. Before we wrap up, you're getting ready to embark in, I know it's going to happen, your own
Thank you, sir.
stuff on Netflix or several other
Mhm.
broadcast
Yeah,
networks.
we're talking with Netflix, Discovery Channel, and shopping to all the other networks. What we don't know is what the final formula will be, whether it'll be just all Bigfoot or if we'll start incorporating other cryptid stuff or paranormal stuff like UFOs, ghosts, all of that.
How can the viewers reach out to you, support you, know more about your content, and just really understand your mission to educate, not destroy?
Exactly, exactly. Well, right here, go to Bigfoots, that's with an S, Bigfoots of Michigan.com. You go there, and that's going to show you our YouTube channel, which is that's pretty brand new, but we are zooming now. That's called the Bigfoots of Michigan channel on YouTube. And then, of course, we're on all the social media platforms, mainly Facebook, and we have a private group that's up over 5,000 already, and people are eating this up. It is exploding. So, yeah, your best bet is go to bigfootsofmichigan.com.
Thank you so much, B, for coming on to the show. We definitely gonna have you come back and let's talk about those
Awesome.
menace people, those lizard people. We know
You
they're
got
out
it.
there. I've heard about them from the Dogon tribe. We heard about them from
Uh-huh.
all the other Native American tribes. We're gonna unveil all of this and more. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show.